It was nighttime when the taxi came to a halt, rain pattering against the windows. "We're here, miss," the cab driver said, glancing back at his passenger. "You don't look so well. Do you want me to send you to the hospital?" "No thanks, keep the change," the lady replied quietly, handing him some money. She wore a sad and sickly expression. Collecting the fare, the driver thought of her as a weird passenger. Stepping out of the taxi, she opened her umbrella to shield herself from the rain. Approaching her apartment, sounds of intimacy floated from inside. She paused, not entirely surprised. Unlocking the door, she sighed before pushing it open. Inside, her fiancé was entwined with another woman, their heavy breaths filling the room. With a stern gaze, he acknowledged her presence. "You're back," he stated casually before returning his attention to the other woman beside him. His fiancée responded with a stern look as he finished his last thrust. "Make something for me, I'm hungry," he ordered, ignoring her presence as he wrapped his lower body. "Wayne, is this your domestic helper?" "She's quite young," remarked the unknown woman. "Why are you still here?" he snapped, his tone harsh. "Wayne," the unknown woman teased. "Scram," he shouted at the unknown woman, who left them as his fiancée also headed into the kitchen. As she prepared something, Wayne entered, a cigarette hanging from his lips as he attempted to light it. "Come with me to the party tomorrow afternoon," Wayne said, interrupting her thoughts. "I'm not feeling well," she replied. Before she could suggest staying home, Wayne cut her off. "No, this is a project that I have to get." "Okay," she said calmly. For the past 5 years, Wayne had dragged her to various parties, turning a blind eye to those who took advantage of her. Slicing the fish, she thought, "He's taking revenge for my betrayal that time," before accidentally cutting herself. As she lifted her hand, seeing the blood drop, she made a decision. "Wayne Luo, let's break up," she told him. "Break up? You can forget about it," Wayne said, his fury evident as he approached her, his hand gripping her neck. "You caused my family to be a laughingstock 5 years ago when you ran away from our wedding, and now you're thinking of betraying me again?" he demanded, tightening his grip. "I'm not," she managed to say, struggling to breathe. "I ignored the violent objections of my family then and looked for you all over the world like a fool," Wayne continued, easing his grip slightly. Tears welled in her eyes as she tried to explain. "No, it's not like that," she managed to say. "Sophia Tang, I feel disgusted just looking at you now. It feels like I've dirted my hand when I touch you," Wayne spat out, his words dripping with spite. "In that case, why don't you let me go? I promise I'll never appear in front of you again, and you'll never be disgusted by me," Sophia pleaded. "Stop dreaming. Even if I have to tie you up, I'll keep you by my side," Wayne declared, his expression cold. "I'm going to torment you day and night. You'll wish you were dead. I'll make you pay the price for your betrayal," he added before forcefully releasing her and storming out of the kitchen, slamming the door behind him. Alone and broken, Sophia sank to her knees on the floor, weeping. "He used to love me with all his heart and swore to pamper me my whole life. The reason he's become like this is because of what happened 5 years ago," she thought, consumed by sorrow. It was 5 years ago on Sophia's wedding day, a day meant to be the pinnacle of joy. Holding a bouquet of flowers, she wondered, "I am curious if Wayne will kiss me in excitement when I see him later," as she waited in the bride's room. However, the situation took a bewildering turn when she suddenly lost consciousness, unable to recall the moment it happened. Awakening in a hospital bed, weak and disoriented, she was blindsided by the doctor's announcement, "You have to rest well for a couple of days. Your body will be weaker after you just gave birth," she said. Shocked, Sophia struggled to comprehend how she could have been pregnant without knowing it. "Pregnant? Who was the one that made me pregnant? Where's the baby?" she asked. The doctor's silence only deepened her confusion, leaving her swirling with emotions, bewilderment, fear, and a sense of disconnection from her own life. The gentle rhythm of the fore-drip offered a semblance of calm amidst the turmoil. She only had memories until the day of the wedding. Without the medical records as proof, she would have found it impossible to believe she had given birth. The explanation that she had been brought to the hospital after nearly drowning, an event that erased her memory of her pregnancy, only added to her perplexity. As she lay there, questions echoed in her mind, unanswered and haunting. How could she have forgotten such a significant part of her life? The silence that met her inquiries left her adrift, trapped in a cycle of torment and uncertainty. The looming presence of her fiancé, Wayne Luo, whose intentions remained veiled in menace, compounded her torment and uncertainty. "Miss Tang," someone called, snapping Sophia back to the present. "Miss Tang," an elderly man called her as he smiled wryly at her as he proposed a toast. She thought, how revolting. "Thank you, President Zhu," she said, forcing a smile of gratitude as she drank the wine. "I can't take it anymore," she thought. Feeling dizzy, she excused herself and made her way out of the meeting room as she heard President Zhu laughing and saying, "Oh, Wayne, this girl you brought is not bad," tears streaming down her face as she sought solace in the restroom. The faint echoes of laughter followed her, a cruel reminder of her vulnerability. In her haste, she collided with a stranger, tumbling into his arms. Her head spun as the stranger asked, "Aren't you going to get up?" Her apology was a feeble murmur amidst her disorientation gripping her. Sophia's grip tightened on the stranger as dizziness enveloped her. Before he could finish his thought, he shouted at her, "Let go." Her senses failed her amidst the swirling chaos, prompting a swift apology as she withdrew her hands, her head swimming with disorientation. The young man's expression was vexed. Without hesitation, he grabbed her and pulled her over. Their sudden tumble to the ground left Sophia sprawled atop him, her world spinning out of control. He instructed his assistant to turn around, which he did willingly. With gentle strength, he held her into a sitting position. "Ugh. I feel like puking," she said tearfully as he ordered her to shut up, trying to stand up, and upon doing so she puked on him, and she felt a moment of clarity. "Phew, that felt good," she smiled. Apologies tumbled from her lips as she sought assistance, oblivious to the identity of the man who she had soiled. Only when she glanced up did she realize her unwitting companion was none other than Marco Jian, the enigmatic and powerful figure who commanded the city with a mere gesture. Regret and disbelief mingled in Sophia's mind as she grappled with the implications of her unexpected encounter. How had she become entangled with someone like Marco Jian? The weight of her actions bore down on her, leaving her questioning her own judgment. In a cruel twist of fate, Sophia's consciousness faltered once more, her body succumbing to the overwhelming turmoil of the moment. As she slumped unconscious to the floor, Marco Jian watched impassively and said, "She fainted. You know how to handle this, don't you?" His assistant, at a loss for how to proceed in the face of this unexpected turn of events, said, "Not really." As Marco departed, his decree of a penalty hung in the air, leaving the assistant in stunned silence. Marco thought, "What's going on? I was actually not against having contact with this woman." The assistant's fingers moved swiftly over his phone's screen, summoning emergency assistance to the scene. Marco's departure left behind a lingering sense of bewilderment, his own thoughts, a tumult of confusion and unexpected emotions. Marco looked back and thought, could it be that my gynophobia was cured? Marco pondered inwardly, his look startled his assistant into a shocked pause. As Marco cast a lingering glance back at Sophia, his assistant hastened to attend to her, grappling with the sudden shift in their circumstances. As the assistant navigated the hospital corridors, attracting curious and concerned stares. Their journey through the hospital was interrupted by the curious encounter of a young boy, as he called, Uncle, who brazenly accused the assistant of nefarious intentions towards Sophia. Li, the assistant, called the young boy a little master, as he attempted to defuse the situation, thinking, "Please let it go, little master." The boy's bargaining chip, knowledge of previous victims, sent a shiver down Li's spine, but he quickly redirected the conversation towards lighter topics, enticing the boy with promises of future gifts and adventures. "I know Uncle Li treats me the best," the boy said, feeling happy. Relieved by the boy's acquiescence, Li continued his quest for medical assistance, grateful for the respite from further complications. As they made their way through the hospital corridors, the young boy's curiosity bubbled forth once more. "Who's this beautiful lady you're carrying, uncle?" he inquired innocently. "I'm not quite sure," Lee replied, his tone tinged with amusement. "Your daddy scared her so much that she fainted." The boy's brow furrowed in contemplation, his mind swirling with thoughts beyond his years. "Other women can't wait to give themselves to Dad when they see him," he mused thoughtfully, yet she was actually so scared that she fainted? Could this be it, the fated girl that God arranged for me? With each step, his imagination ran wild, envisioning a potential romance unfolding before him. Does she have a boyfriend? Does she mind having a younger boyfriend? He wondered, the possibility sparking a flicker of excitement within him. Meanwhile, Lee maintained a steady pace, his focus unwavering as he sought out a doctor to tend to Sophia. Sophia was slowly regaining consciousness, receiving the care she needed. The boy, with an air of authority unbefitting his age, started ushering Lee out of the room. "You don't need to stick around here. I got this," he said, half-jokingly nudging Lee towards the door. "Wouldn't want to get in the way of my time with this beautiful lady," he added with a grin that was too mischievous for his own good. Soon after, Sophia stirred, letting out a soft cough as she opened her eyes to the unfamiliar surroundings. "Oh, you're awake? Beautiful lady, how do you feel?" the boy inquired with a mix of concern and excitement in his voice. Sophia, still disoriented, managed to sit up, her eyes settling on the young boy standing at her bedside. "Who are you, kid?" she asked, confusion lacing her words. The boy giggled as he straightened up, cleared his throat with an exaggerated gesture, and introduced himself with a flourish. "Hello, beautiful lady, let me introduce myself. My name is Romeo Jen." "Yes, Romeo as in Romeo and Juliet. I am your future husband," he declared, his face breaking into a hopeful smile. Sophia couldn't help but let out a surprised smirk. "My, what a declaration to make," she said, taken aback yet amused. He continued, "It's love at first sight. I believe that you'll fall for me too." She thought, what a cute kid, as she giggled. "Thank you, but I can't be your wife because I already have a fiancé," she gently let him down. Romeo said with a straight face, "That doesn't matter. I've learned on television that if you like something you should fight for it." His words were earnest, reflecting a simplicity and innocence that touched Sophia's heart. Sophia smiled softly, a warm feeling spreading through her. "Thank you, young man. It's been quite some time since someone has made me feel so valued," she shared, her voice tinged with a hint of sadness. Romeo's expression turned thoughtful, a slight frown forming as he processed her words. "Beautiful lady, are you unhappy about it?" he asked, his concern genuine. "No, I'm not," Sophia admitted, her gaze meeting his. Changing the subject slightly, she asked, "And what about you? Are you here by yourself? Where are your parents?" The shift in conversation marked a moment of connection between them, opening the door to a deeper understanding and perhaps the beginning of an unexpected friendship. "I haven't had a mommy since I was young. I only have a daddy, and he's a super-duper cold-blooded baddie who only knows how to scold me, shouts at me, forbids me from doing this and that," Romeo shared with Sophia, his voice carrying a hint of vulnerability. Sophia, moved by his confession, gently urged, "Grow up quickly and work hard to become stronger. That way nobody will dare to bully you anymore." Romeo looked up at Sophia with wide eyes as she patted him on the head. With a hopeful tone, he asked, "Beautiful lady, can you protect me then?" Sophia sighed softly, her gaze filled with a mix of empathy and resignation. "I'm sorry, I can't even protect myself," she confessed. Undeterred, little Romeo hugged Sophia tightly and reassured her, "That's fine. I can protect you even though I'm still little. Grandpa and Grandma both said that I'm the little man of the house." Sophia, caught off guard by his innocence, couldn't help but be touched. "Okay, you can protect me. But before you protect me, can you tell me who you came here with? Where's your family?" "Don't worry, they'll definitely find me," a little Romeo replied with confidence, his excitement evident as he nestled in Sophia's arms. Just as the warmth of their connection was settling in, the nurse interrupted, announcing, "It's time for your injection." Little Romeo reluctantly detached himself from Sophia, and as the nurse prepared Sophia for her shot, he walked to a nearby table. In an attempt to quietly withdraw from the scene, he froze when Sophia unexpectedly called out, "Aren't you going to hand that over?" Confused, Romeo turned to her, innocently asking, "Hand what over?" "Hand it over quickly. That thing is too dangerous, it's not something that a child like you should play with," Sophia scolded Romeo. "Fine," he said as he reluctantly handed over the injection he had hidden. She continued, "A kid who steals things is not a good kid, people will not like you." "No, beautiful lady," he replied remorsefully. Suddenly the door slammed open and a lady with a disgusted look burst in. Startled, Romeo clung to Sophia. "Who's that?" Sophia asked, but Romeo was too scared to answer as he hugged her tightly. Pointing at Sophia, the woman accused her of being a human trafficker and called for the guards who suddenly appeared. Sophia and Romeo both felt a wave of fear. After the chaotic event, Marco Gian, a man who was the one Sophia had initially offended, stood in front of her. She couldn't shake off a sense of unease. "Romeo Gian," Marco ordered, "come back." However, Romeo defiantly replied, "No, I want to be with this beautiful lady. I don't want to go back." Marco turned to his staff, instructing, "Nanny Zhang, take him away." "Got it," came the nanny's reply. As she whisked little Romeo away, she said, "Little master, be good and come home with me." He resisted, "No, I don't want to go back. I want to be with the beautiful lady, I don't want to go back," he said tearfully, screaming for Sophia to save him. He didn't want to go back, he wanted to be with her. Sophia was left speechless, feeling the weight of the situation. "He's just a child," she whispered to herself. "Miss Tang," Marco Jian called, "we caused you trouble because of a mistake by our butler. Just name the compensation that you need." Sophia held her chest, a mix of emotions overwhelming her. I want." She hesitated, contemplating the consequences of her decision. "For the new energy source development project, could you consider the Luo group?" she said. Marco laughed and said, "That's the compensation that you want? You're really not holding back." Sophia hesitated, then replied, "No, that's not it. Since that's not it, then take the money and go," Marco interrupted, handing her a check for 1 million. Sophia shook her head, declining the check. "No, it's not that," she said firmly. Marco was taken aback by her refusal. "This woman seems to be so soft." As he tried to raise his hand, he thought, resisting the urge to pat her on the head. Sophia remained silent, gathering her thoughts. 1 million is too little. "I've decided to take the new energy source project instead," she declared without hesitation. "You're a greedy woman indeed," Marco exclaimed, surprised by her boldness. Sophia smiled softly, thanking him for the compliment. She had endured worse labels in the past 5 years. "That's why I don't mind another greedy label," Sophia thought. Writing another check for her. "This is 10 million. Take it and don't disturb me again," he said, handing her the check before walking away. As Sophia held the check, she pondered over the person she had become. "Who's this person standing over here now?" she wondered to herself. "This kind of person, not even I can recognize myself anymore." Returning to her apartment, Sophia could hear Wayne in bed with another woman. She entered the room without acknowledging the noise. "You're back," Wayne said, indifferent to her presence. "Yes," Sophia replied tersely. "Where did you go today?" Wayne inquired. "Hospital," Sophia responded coldly. "Who permitted you to go there?" "I've said it numerous times, we must get the contract with Boss Zhu. Yet you sneaked away at such a critical juncture? Tell me, how do you want to make amends for it?" Wayne's voice was firm with disapproval. "Sorry, Sophia murmured, her voice tinged with regret as she tried to explain. "Sorry, how much is your sorry worth?" Wayne's anger was palpable. Boss Zhu has a room at the Hilton Hotel tonight. Go and keep him company for a night. Here's the room card, Wayne instructed, handing over the card to her. Sophia trembled as she held on to the card, feeling the weight of her situation. Wayne and his spouse laughed, oblivious to her distress. One day, Wayne Luo, you'll expend every drop of love that I have for you, Sophia said, tears trickling down her cheek. After I help you get this business, we're even, she added, picking up the room card on the table beside Wayne. She was done being his slave. Where are you going? Wayne asked as Sophia stormed out of the room in tears. At the Hilton Hotel, Sophia was involved in a covert operation. Madame Zhu, I have evidence of your husband's extramarital affairs. If you're willing to sign a contract with the Luo Group, I will hand over the evidence to you. Yes, now room 666, she conveyed over a phone call to President Zhu's wife as she held the room card. Wayne Luo, this is the last favor I'll do for you. After this, we'll go our separate ways and I'll live my own life, Sophia reflected internally. Engrossed in her thoughts, she accidentally bumped into a stranger in the hallway, causing her bag to spill its contents. The lady she collided with screamed, "Don't you know how to walk properly? Are your eyes on your butt?" Despite Sophia's apologies, the lady dismissed her with a harsh, "What a jinx," as she gathered her belongings, inadvertently swapping their room cards. Feeling a wave of sickness and pondering the lady's harsh words, Sophia approached what she believed was her intended destination. I'm here, she thought, unlocking the door to room 999 and entering quietly. She noticed the sound of running water from the bathroom and pondered whether Boss Zhu was still showering. Despite feeling uncomfortable, she decided to proceed with her plan, convincing herself to endure the upcoming encounter by closing her eyes, likening it to an unpleasant necessity as she lay down. Meanwhile, Marco Jian was in the shower, feeling the aftereffects of the alcohol he had consumed earlier. Those guys really did everything they could to get me drunk, he reflected, acknowledging his overindulgence as his vision began to blur slightly. As he wrapped himself in a towel and stepped out of the bathroom, he was unaware of Sophia's presence in his room. Lying down on the bed, Marco's arm brushed against Sophia, startling him. Someone's here, he realized. Confusion clouded his thought as he wondered if they had orchestrated this encounter. You, he uttered, surprised to see Sophia sleeping before him. She seemed unaware of his presence, her eyes shut tightly. It's her, he thought. Marco's confusion only deepened as Sophia suddenly embraced him and whispered, "Hug me." Startled by her unexpected actions, Marco was too shocked to react, his mind filled with questions about the bizarre situation unfolding before him. Sophia clung to Marco, her whispered plea laden with desperation. Hold me tight and don't leave me, she implored, her hands on him in a seducing manner. Marco couldn't help but recall that pivotal night 5 years ago, the memory casting a shadow over his fidelity since. Yet Sophia's touch didn't repulse him, granting him a fleeting reprieve from his inner turmoil. Then let me use this body of mine and enjoy it as much as I can, he resolved silently. Beneath the cover of darkness, Marco and Sophia surrendered to their desires, cherishing each fleeting moment shared between them. As dawn approached, Sophia stirred, her heart heavy with a familiar ache. Wayne Luo should be very satisfied this time, she murmured, a single tear betraying her facade as she heard running water. With a resigned sigh, she knew she had to leave, her gaze searching for the absence of Boss Zhu beside her, who was in the showers. Sophia's plans to slip away were thwarted by the realization that her clothes lay in tatters. Donning the only salvageable garment, a discarded shirt, she stepped into the morning light, her figure swallowed by its oversized embrace. Suddenly a voice pierced the silence, calling her sister. Sarah Tang, her stepsister, stood before her, concern etched upon her features. Sarah Tang, why is my stepsister here, she thought. Did Boss Zhu bully you, she inquired, reaching out in a futile attempt to offer solace. But Sophia, consumed by her own tumultuous thoughts, brushed past her without a word, each step a silent plea for escape. I know you hate me, but I can't stand by and watch others take advantage of you. Sarah Tang's voice cut through the air, drawing the attention of curious onlookers. Murmurs rippled through the gathering crowd as they observed the unfolding drama. "What's going on?" "Seems like there's a show," some whispered, their interest piqued. Sarah firmly grasped Sophia's arm, urging her to retreat. "Let's go back and get father to help you," she implored. But Sophia recoiled, wrenching her arm away with a sharp retort. "Shut up, Sarah Tang." Sophia's words were laced with bitterness. "Your mother successfully worked her way up as a mistress and chased my mother and me out of the family so many years ago. I can finally have a normal life now, yet now you suddenly appear here to slander me, saying that I've been taken advantage of. What's your motive?" she asked her stepsister. Sarah stood frozen, her shock palpable as Sophia's accusations hung in the air. The gathered crowd exchanged hushed comments, piecing together the fragments of the family drama playing out before them. "So, her mother was a mistress," one woman murmured, a note of judgment in her voice. "She seems so gentle, but she's actually a scheming girl," another speculated, their eyes flickering with newfound suspicion. Sarah tried defending herself. Amidst the murmurs, Wayne Luo's voice boomed, cutting through the tension like a thunderclap. "Sophia Tang," his accusation rang out, his anger palpable as he confronted Sophia. "You're wearing a man's shirt. What did you do behind my back last night?" The air crackled with tension as Sophia braced herself for the storm of accusations that threatened to engulf her. Wayne's grip tightened on Sophia's arm, and through the haze of confusion she caught Sarah's smirk. It dawned on her then, Sarah and Wayne were complicit in this deceit. With a swift motion, Sophia wrenched herself free from Wayne's grasp. "My dear fiancé, you drugged me yourself last night for the sake of your business and sent me to another man. How could you forget about it after just one night?" Sophia's accusation pierced the charged atmosphere, drawing gasps from the crowd. Anger simmered among them, their voices rising in condemnation. "Is this man sick? Sending his fiancée to the bed of another man. He's inhuman, my God," the murmurs swirled around, echoing Sophia's indignation. Wayne's response was swift, hurling slanderous words at Sophia in a desperate attempt to deflect blame. But Sophia refused to back down, her resolve unyielding. "What are you then?" she countered, her voice cutting through the chaos. "You've not touched me for 5 years, yet you bring a different woman back every day to sleep in our bed. I'm better off with another." Despite not having laid eyes on the man from the previous night, Sophia stood her ground, knowing she couldn't afford to falter. Wayne, fueled by rage and embarrassment, demanded to know the identity of the other man, his hand poised to strike. But before he could land the blow, Sophia stumbled backward, colliding with someone behind her, leaving them shocked. As she fell, Sophia's senses were overwhelmed by a familiar scent. Marco Jian's voice cut through the chaos, his question laden with curiosity and a hint of amusement. "Are you wearing my shirt because you're in love with my scent?" he questioned her. Sophia's heart pounded as realization dawned on her, the man she was with last night was Marco. Shock rippled through her, her world suddenly tilting on its axis. Last night," she stammered. Sophia was caught off guard by Marco's invitation to breakfast. "Let's go, I've specially ordered a grand breakfast for you," he said, making Sophia momentarily forget her current troubles. Wayne's abrupt interruption. "Stop right there," Wayne said, however, jolted her back to reality as he grabbed her arm, asserting his claim over her. Marco, unfazed, challenged Wayne. "Let go," he said. "She is mine, you're the one who should let go," Wayne said to Marco, questioning his intentions and warning him against further aggression. Marco issued a stern warning to Wayne, emphasizing the consequences of his actions. "You don't know what's good for you." "What use do you have for that arm?" Marco said angrily. In the ensuing scuffle, someone intervened, freeing Sophia and causing Wayne injury as he screamed. As Marco led Sophia away, he said, "This is just a small warning. If you do this again, I'll destroy that arm of yours." Wayne, nursing his arm, vowed revenge, while Sarah rushed to his aid, expressing her concern and affection. After receiving medical attention, Sarah asked him, "Wayne, how is it? Are you feeling any better?" Wayne reassured Sarah of his well-being. I was so scared. If something were to really happen to you, what should I do? Prompting her to confess her long-standing love for him. They shared a romantic moment in his car, unaware that Sophia and Marco observed from a distance. When Marco questioned Sophia about her feelings for Wayne, she denied any heartache, revealing that her love for Wayne had waned over the years. With a resolute expression, she conveyed her detachment from the situation. Marco recalled Lee's earlier revelation about Sophia Tang's unexpected appearance in his room was a mistake, realizing it was meant to be an arrangement orchestrated by Wayne Luo for Boss Zhu. Despite the circumstances, Marco found himself intrigued by Sophia's presence, sensing a twist of fate at play. Marco, undeterred, sought to rectify the misunderstanding, offering Sophia compensation for the inconvenience caused. Sophia, however, graciously declined Marco's offer, considering his earlier assistance as sufficient. Marco, persistent in his desire to help, pressed Sophia to name her desired compensation. Name it, he said with a commanding tone. With a hint of mischief, Sophia requested Marco's assistance in severing ties with Wayne Luo and ensuring her safety from him. Marco, intrigued by Sophia's request, said, "That's too simple." "What else?" he demanded as he drew closer to her in a flirtatious exchange, leaving her surprised. Amid their intimacy, Sophia confided in Marco, expressing her desire to settle down and reunite with her mother. "That's it?" he asked. "Yes, that's it," she replied. Why is he not saying anything? Were my requests too much, she thought. Marco's reaction was not immediately apparent as his attention was diverted by an unexpected phone call from his mother. Just in time, he thought. The call revealed familial pressure for Marco to marry, prompting Sophia to wonder about the complexities of Marco's affluent background. On the phone with Marco's mother, his grandmother attempted to sway him toward marriage. "My dear, you'll scare Marky like this. Here, let me talk to him. Marky, I have picked a few candidates to be my granddaughter-in-law for you. They're all very beautiful, docile, and demure." She even mentioned specially prepared tonic soups to entice him. However, Marco politely declined, suggesting they reserve those options for his other relatives who might need assistance more than him. Interrupting, Marco's aunt offered her own selection of suitors. "Marky, I'm your second aunt. Don't listen to them, they're all not dependable at all. I've prepared a few very well-mannered Adonises, and they're all very energetic," causing Sophia to laugh out loud. Her laughter was heard on the other side of the phone, causing silence. Amidst the familial insistence, Marco's mother demanded he bring his current companion, Sophia, back home immediately. Caught off guard, Sophia realized her presence had been revealed, and Marco remained silent, seemingly resigned to his mother's demands. With a final decree, Marco declared he would personally ensure he brought a daughter-in-law, ending the call abruptly. The situation left Sophia shocked, and Marco smiled, knowing it was all part of his plan to let Sophia's voice be heard and prompt his family to take the initiative to ask him to bring the female companion he was with. Sophia apologized sincerely, admitting her mistake, to which Marco Jian responded calmly, assuring her that he had a solution to help her deal with the rabid dog Wayne for good. "How?" Sophia inquired, seeking his advice. "Marriage," Marco Jian proposed plainly. Sophia was taken aback, her mind racing through the absurdity of the suggestion. "Give me your family register and identification card," he said to her, which she did. "Sign, fill out the form," Marco demanded, to which she complied. "We'll go for a photoshoot after signing." "I've already thought of the style that we should go for," he said. "Wait. Explain everything to me." "What are you doing?" she asked, trying to grasp his intent. Marco paused, then explained his reasoning. "You see, your timely presence has inadvertently helped me overcome my lifelong allergy to women, including my mother," he confessed, revealing a personal truth. "Yet you were seated in the front seat of my car earlier and your laughter was heard over the phone by the other side. Do you know what that means?" "What?" Sophia asked. "Now my family, who's been relentless about me finding a partner, can finally stop worrying." Sophia absorbed this revelation, realizing the unexpected consequences of their encounter. "I'm no longer allergic to women," Marco affirmed, a hint of stress in his voice. "And now my eager family can start sending potential matches my way. By marrying me, you'll put an end to my family's incessant pestering, and Wayne Luo won't dare to harass you anymore," Marco explained, his tone resolute. Sophia, still reeling from his proposal, confronted him about his earlier claim of being allergic to women. "But last night she started, her fear and confusion evident. Marco gently touched her chin, reassuring her. "Obviously, I'm not allergic to you," he affirmed softly. Sophia realized she couldn't keep her past hidden any longer. Honesty was necessary. "I've been engaged before and I have a child. There's a chance I may never conceive again," she confessed, bracing herself for his reaction. Marco, however, remained unfazed. "You're overthinking it," he reassured her. "All I need is a wife who doesn't trigger my allergies, and I need you to help me end all the trouble. And you need a way out of your situation. It's a mutually beneficial arrangement." He emphasized that her past and fertility were inconsequential to him. "The only thing you need to do is to be Mrs. Jian and not cause me any trouble, that's all. Whether you have given birth or whether you are able to give birth in the future, these are irrelevant questions to me," he told her. After some consideration, Sophia agreed to Marco's proposition, understanding the terms. With that, their unconventional agreement was sealed as he handed her her marriage certificate. As they arrived at Marco's house, Sophia couldn't help but be awestruck by the grandeur of the mansion. "Wow! What a huge mansion," she thought to herself, taking in the impressive sight. The butlers greeted Marco respectfully upon their arrival, referring to him as young master. Marco wasted no time informing them of Sophia's presence and instructed them to arrange for custom-made clothes for her the next day. They welcomed Sophia as the young mistress, a title that felt foreign yet oddly fitting. During lunch, Sophia inquired about Marco's child. "Where's the child?" she asked, curious. The butler explained that the young master had already eaten at school and would return home later in the afternoon. Sophia expressed her willingness to fetch him from school, a request Marco granted without hesitation. The butler insisted she rest first, promising to prepare the car when it was time to pick up the child. "Thank you very much," Sophia replied with a smile, grateful for the butler's kindness. As she settled in, Sophia couldn't shake the empathy she felt for Marco's son. Having experienced the struggles of vying for a parent's affection with another woman, she was determined to be a stepmother who wouldn't be resented. She hoped to build a bond with Marco Jian's son that would be filled with love and understanding rather than resentment. Romeo Jian's heart raced with excitement as he spotted Sophia waiting to pick him up from school. "Wow, beautiful lady, you came here specifically to fetch me, right?" he exclaimed, a spark of admiration in his eyes. "Did you miss me that much after just a few days? And do you want to be my girlfriend?" he blurted out eagerly, his steps quickening toward her. Sophia's expression softened as she watched him approach. "Yes, I came here specifically to pick you up," she began, her voice gentle but hesitant. "But there's something important I need to talk to you about." She took a deep breath, bracing herself for the conversation ahead. "If I were to marry your daddy and become your mommy, would you still like me?" Romeo's excitement faltered, his steps slowing as her words sank in. "I don't want that," he protested suddenly, his voice laced with confusion and frustration. Sophia knelt down, her gaze steady as she met his eyes. "But Romeo, I'm already married to your daddy," she confessed softly, her heart heavy with the weight of the truth. "Liar!" Romeo's accusation pierced the air, his emotions raw and unfiltered as he interrupted her. "You're a liar too, you're just like all the others, trying to seduce daddy all the time. You're all liars." His words were sharp with betrayal as he turned and fled, his small figure disappearing into the distance. "I hate you. I never want to see you again," his anguished cry echoed back to her, leaving Sophia rooted to the spot, her heart breaking for the pain she had inadvertently caused. As Romeo dashed across the road, his vision clouded with tears. He failed to notice the oncoming truck until it was too late. "Romeo!" Her voice pierced the air, filled with urgency and fear as she watched Romeo freeze in the face of danger. With instinctive speed she dashed across the road, disregarding the blaring horns and screeching brakes of the oncoming truck, leaving him dazed. Ignoring the driver's insults, she swept up Romeo in her arms and carried him to safety, her heart pounding with relief as she checked him for injuries. "Roro, are you okay?" Sophia's concern was palpable as she searched his face for any signs of harm. Despite the terror still lingering in his eyes, Romeo couldn't help but wonder why she had risked her own safety to protect him, defying the stereotypes of cruel stepmothers. "I'm fine," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, his gaze downcast with shame at his own vulnerability. "That's a relief," Sophia sighed, a hint of amusement in her voice as she suggested treating him to a meal from a famous restaurant. But Romeo, torn between hunger and lingering distrust, agreed while drooling. "Don't think you can win me over that easily and get into my good books like this," he retorted, his stomach growling in protest. Yet beneath his tough exterior he couldn't suppress a flicker of excitement at the prospect of indulging in forbidden delights. Sophia chuckled at his bravado, her affection for him evident in her gentle gaze. "Fine, I'll indulge you this once," she relented, feeling a surge of pride at his resilience. At the restaurant, Romeo scanned the menu, excitement evident in his eyes. "I want everything," he declared. "It's all because of that dad of mine. He'll never let me eat this stuff because he says that I have a weak constitution. I'm going to eat my fill today," he thought, his eyes widening with desire as he pointed out everything he longed to taste. Despite his father's strict rules, he was determined to savor every moment of this unexpected treat. But their brief respite was interrupted by the ringing of Sophia's phone, pulling her back to the harsh reality of their circumstances. It was Marco Jian, worried about their whereabouts. "Hello, Mr. Jian," she answered the phone. "Mrs. Jian, are you fetching him from the moon?" Marco's voice was tinged with concern as he questioned her over the phone. Sophia reassured him, "We're just enjoying a meal out, Marco. We'll be back late." Her heart lightened knowing that, despite the challenges they faced, she and Romeo were building a bond stronger than any stereotype could break. Marco's response was flirtatious, whispered in a tone meant only for her ears. "I want to eat you up," he murmured, eliciting a blush from Sophia. "I'm hanging up," she replied, her laughter bubbling beneath the surface as she ended the call, leaving Marco longing for more. As they enjoyed their meal, Romeo indulged in every dish with gusto, his hunger seemingly insatiable. But even as they made their way home, his appetite remained unsated, his eyes still drawn to the tantalizing displays of food in nearby restaurants. "I want to eat that too," Romeo declared eagerly as they passed another restaurant along the road, his desires reignited. Sophia, mindful of their limits, gently refused. "We've had enough today. Let's come back another time," she suggested, hoping to temper his disappointment. But Romeo, fueled by hunger and frustration, accused her of cruelty. "Stepmother, you're bullying me," he cried out, his words tinged with resentment. "I won't let you eat any more no matter what you say. You'll get an upset tummy," she said as she tried pacifying him. "Stepmothers are all baddies. She's not giving me any food, I'm so hungry," he said as he tried to create a scene. Concerned murmurs filled the air as some onlookers began to speculate about Sophia's treatment of Romeo. One elderly woman couldn't hold back her disapproval, chastising Sophia for the perceived lack of discipline. Sophia, taken aback as she recognized the voice, could only manage a weak protest. "Grandma," she started, her voice faltering under the weight of judgment. Caught between her concern for Romeo and the judgment of strangers, Sophia struggled to navigate the delicate balance of motherhood in the public eye. Sophia Tang stood her ground as her grandmother confronted her. "Where did you come from, you little slut? How dare you call me grandma? Are you trying to get into my family?" the woman demanded. As the crowd murmured, "Wow, is this some sort of Kardashian show? My father is your son. Wherever your son is from, that's where I'm from, Sophia replied firmly, her tone tinged with frustration. You must be out of your mind. How dare you talk to me with this kind of attitude, her grandma shot back, her voice rising. Why can't I talk to you like this? Sophia questioned, her patience wearing thin. I'm your grandma, her grandma exclaimed, her voice echoing with indignation. Passers-by began to take notice, their murmurs adding to the tension. Feeling the weight of the situation, Sophia apologized for her harsh words, acknowledging that she shouldn't have addressed the woman as her grandmother without confirmation. Humph. A child that was not raised by a mother is really shameless. That's why you can follow any man and become a stepmother. The apple really doesn't fall far from the tree, her grandma continued, her words cutting deep. Sophia's anger flared at the insult directed towards her mother. Sophia Tang refused to stay silent at her grandmother her accusations. You filthy, old woman, shut your trap, she ordered firmly, her frustration boiling over. Whose fault is it that I had no mother to bring me up? You ganged up with the mistress to force her into a divorce. My mother had just met with a mishap and you couldn't wait to take the mistress into the family, she confronted her grandmother, her voice trembling with emotion as tears poured down her face. Then you were so anxious to arrange for the wedding for the mistress, is this something a human can do? You're the shameless one, she said. Hearing her words, the gathered crowd murmured, wow, this old woman is something else. Another said, cold-blooded. Her grandmother's face twisted with anger at the accusations and said, you. Sophia's grandmother stuttered, raising her stick in an attempt to strike Sophia. Sophia raised her hand to shield her face, but before contact could be made and before Sophia could respond, little Romeo, sensing the tension, rushed in between them. Old hag, touch her if you dare, he warned Sophia's grandmother, his voice filled with protective determination. Rascal, you're nothing good either, the grandmother said as she raised her stick in an attempt to strike Romeo. But before she could make contact, Sophia dashed in front of Romeo, taking the blow meant for him as the grandmother smacked her more. Romeo looked at Sophia with fear in his eyes, his concern evident. Let's see if you dare to be so uncultured next time, the grandmother said as she breathed heavily. Undeterred by the pain, Sophia turned back to her grandmother, her eyes flashing with anger. You'd better remember everything that you did to me today. Very soon I'll take back everything that the Tang family owes me and my mother. Every single cent, she declared, her voice unwavering despite the ache in her heart. You, the grandmother stammered as they ignored her. You're just a little kid. Why act tough? That stick is so thick. What if it really hit you, Sophia Tang said, concern evident in her voice, relieved to have shielded little Romeo from harm, focused on him. Humph. I'm the only one who can bully you, stepmother, Romeo asserted, his tone defiant. Who does that old woman think she is, he questioned. Holding Romeo's hand, she suggested they go home, but he resisted. No. Romeo exclaimed, pulling his hand away. Spotting spices showcased in a store, he darted over and grabbed the pepper spice. How dare you come out to scare people when you're so ugly, old hag? Let's see if you dare come out again. Romeo shouted, tossing the pepper spice at Sophia Tang's grandma. With pepper all over her face, Sophia's grandma screamed in pain. You bastard, she cursed as she coughed as a result from the pepper. Seizing the moment, Sophia hurried Romeo into their vehicle, a bit scared but resolute. She ordered the driver to take them home, while Romeo grinned mischievously at his antics. Arriving home, both Sophia and Romeo, aware of Marco Jien's potential reaction, moved quietly, trying not to draw attention in the dimly lit room. But their efforts were in vain as the lights suddenly flicked on, revealing Marco Jien seated across from them, arms crossed. Mrs. Jian, little Master Jian, you guys finally found it within you to come home, he remarked dryly, his disappointment evident. Thank you for being part of this adventure with us. If you enjoyed what you watch, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. The next episode holds even more excitement and twists, so stay with us as we continue this thrilling journey together. Until then, keep the anticipation alive and we'll see you in the next episode.